Okay, so good morning. We're here for the second webinar of this morning session. It's going to be once again a case study. We had this session with 5 case studies yesterday, but this one is rather different. Of course, it's focused on a company, on an Italian production company, but it's quite different because, so to say, the dimension of this production company is different. It's of course an independent film company, but it's quite active. It's much active on, and the budgets are not so low, so the projects too are quite important. And most of all, it focuses mainly on genre film, which is something which is not so usual for the Italian film industry. So we got today here Mattia. He's the CEO of this company. It's called Propaganda Italia. And as a very first thing, so good morning, Mattia. So as the very first thing, I would just ask, of course, to Mattia to present his company and his in its editorial policy as regards production.
Good morning. Yeah, Propaganda is kind of a new company on the Italian market. We have 2 partners. It's me and my business partner, Marina Marzotto. I have a background in sales, international sales. I worked for almost 15 years as head of international sales for the whole Rai Group. Marina, she was one of the founder of Propaganda Global Entertainment Marketing. So she's been working. She's basically the company that invented the product placement and film promotion. She's been working with Lionsgate and Summit, like big US companies. Propaganda as Italia as it is today, was born like 2016. Yeah, I joined the company 1 year afterward, like 2017. Marina already produced a film like Macchinazione, which is like a thriller on the last 15 days of life of Pierpaolo Pasolini. The whole idea behind Propaganda is we start every project from like a very precise market positioning idea of the product. What I felt I was missing in the Italian production when I was into sales was on the other side. It's like were feature films and TV series that were tailored for a specific target. Pretty much at the time when I was working in Rai, most of the production was focused only for the domestic market. And then we had cases of projects that traveled well into international, but none of them were prepared and built with that specific idea. So the idea with Marina was to let's start a production company that has a very strong kind of commercial point of view. And then we started with genre for 2 reasons. First, because we love it, and so we are avid fans. And second, because we felt there was, as a new company on the market, most of our competitors were focused on like art house productions mainly, director-driven projects. We decided, okay, we won't enter this game. There are too many players there, so it was kind of a sharp idea about being it's like, okay, let's twist and switch to genre. Nobody was doing genre at the time. It's like it was very little company was doing less genre, and now I mean it's like Propaganda. It's a small companies now. We had 2 feature films we produce, and now we have 4 we have 4 features in the pipeline, and our projects range from a budget of 2.5 to 6 million euro budget, more or less. This is the range of projects that we are able to manage. So the idea for genre is very precise when it comes to position the feature on the market, both domestically and internationally. if you shoot an horror film, you have a precise idea who your distributors are, who your sales agents are, and who's your target. So it was easier for us rather than depending on an author for the commercial sustainability of the project. We decided to rely more on script. All our projects start on script. Then we develop the script. Usually we have 1, 2 writers, and then with the second writers on board, we start thinking about the director. So it's like, and when we decide to go for a director, it's always like a process that we share with the international network of relation we have. So I'm talking about festival directors, sales agent, co-producers, broadcasters, and platforms. Well, there is a stream of process that goes for almost more than it takes months to decide the right people to appoint on the project, because sometimes we take kind of calculated risk. We invest on young directors, but the young directors we invest on, they have like a super background and they're not people who have been working in this for 4 years, and then they decided. And sometimes we decide to take risk and go with a project with projects that it's very hard to produce here. But what we do is like we test the features on the international market when they are the development stage, and then we readjust them. We gather partners in the projects, and so like sales companies or co-producers. All propaganda films are co-productions. And then when it's more like structured on the international side, we go back in the Italian market, and then we find like a distributor or like a co-producer here. Is what we do. So we test the IP before on the international, then we go back on the domestic market to test it. Because we have the idea that if it travels well on the international, can do also well on domestic. Then we know the domestic market, so we can adjust it. We can make it work on the domestic. But we want to be sure that it's something that goes well on the two markets together. So this is basically the idea beyond, propaganda, how propaganda is working, and this is what we are doing. We usually work on at least minimum, of course, two countries. We often work on three territories. The last features the first film, La Macchinazione, the first film propaganda produced was a co-production with France and Italy. And the second, which is 5, is a perfect number. It's France, Belgium, and Italy. So it's 3 companies together. And now we have a thriller horror in the pipeline, which is going to be a co-production with Belgium again. And then we have like sci-fi, which will be Italy, Belgium, Ireland. So, and we have another project which is Italy, Sweden, Denmark. But it is like a documentary. It's like a feature film documentary. It's kind of slightly off the grid of what we usually produce, but we are not. We do genre. It's not like a dogma. Right? We don't do anything else. But mainly on the project in which we are a majority co-producers, it's pretty much only genre production. That's it. And then when we can have like we jump into minority co-production projects when they're interesting. We are co-producing like a documentary, like a feature film documentary, so a big budget, of Eric Gandini, Italian guy who is living in Sweden since ages, and he was the one who became famous with the Berlusconi documentary called Videocracy. And we are co-producing his last feature documentary. It's called After Work. It's what's going to happen when we don't have to work anymore. So it's like it's a reflection on the idea of work. what is going to happen. But here we are minority. We are together with Sweden, with majority co-producer, and Denmark. So we are only 20% of the budget. So usually we tend to focus on genre. So we have, as saying, we have a thriller horror in the pipeline. We have like a sci-fi, which is going to be for 2022. It's called 616. And this is the one we co-produced with another Italian company called MATTIA Film, and we produce it with Busters in Belgium and Fantastic Films in Ireland. Brandon, I know is in the panel of Fiesta Film Festival. He's a great guy. I mean, we love him. Yeah, we are really thrilled about the idea of working together. This is a giant project for 2022. Then we have like a more kind of a family film, a pure family. And this is we still need to decide who we are going to co-produce with. It might be Germany, but it's like it's slightly at an earlier stage of development. What we have, and then we have like a costume drama, and this is gonna be, this is gonna be 2022 yet, and this might be Germany, or might be and maybe can be Germany and Austria. This is the idea, or it can be Switzerland and Germany. It's like we have several options on the table. We didn't decide yet.
Okay. So so I understand that basically all of your projects are originated internationally. So I mean they're not.
Yeah, it's like
as you
so sorry. It's maybe I was not. It's no. We all the stories we tell, they are Italian.
Yes.
Then we test the Italian stories on the domestic market. They're not originated. We didn't yet select scripts from the international market yet. We're working with Italian writers, and very often we match the Italian writer with an international writer, but it's like the origin of the story has to be Italian. We are propaganda Italian. We believe there is like a value, very super strong value in what Italy can bring on in terms of creativity and originality of the ideas. We just want to be sure that, I mean, the ideas we work on have like an international language. We tell local stories, Italian stories that can travel on international market. So we don't really, it's the whole starting point so far, mainly for as at least on the productions which we are majority are Italian. Yeah.
No, I saw that. It's very interesting because, of course, it's abused term, but in some sort of way, it's a keen example of, let us say, local production. That it's, I know it's very Italian in terms of concept, of ideas, of cultural origin. I remember, for instance, about 5 is the perfect number. It was clearly starting from the image from the poster, which was clearly inspired to like 70 Italian Giallo. And but at the same time, it's international. I mean, as you said, it's developed international. It's not author driven. It's not producer driven, but it's a sort of network working on it, testing it, and then going back to the Italian market. But in the end, which is something which, as you said, basically no one in Italy does. Should be the norm, but no one here in Italy does that. And so it's very interesting. But in the end, does this succeed? I mean, not of course from the commercial point of view, but in terms of production. So, do you have any results? I mean, as I said, not in terms of economic outcome, but as regards the way, is it easy to, let us say, to set up co-productions on this sort of stories and working like this? Or
No, yeah. I mean, in terms of acceptance of this kind of productions in international markets, there is like an appetite, which is well more established than in our territory, because we basically Italy stopped doing genre production back in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s, and then I mean, we've been working on authors, and then I mean we kind of forgot it. But no. On the international side, there is like I mean there are distributors, co-producers, sales agents, which are really very focused on the genre production. What we try to do, as our budgets usually tend to be slightly higher than the average of the Italian films, we want what is our aim is to produce like elevated genre. So we would like to keep the story within the genre framework. So the story has to respect all the criteria that the the, the genre is ruling, and then we put all the inputs we have in terms of creativity, great heads of department, post production. So we do it at the best that we can within reasonable budget size. um, we This is what I think there is today. It's like there is an appetite for that kind of production. If you take no, there are films. You take like the thriller horrors. Usually it's either big budgets or low budget. When it's really low, it's really low. It's super hard to travel. Usually those are domestic projects which they rarely, scarcely travel, even if they're in English language. We don't. I mean, it's just like um, the thriller horror we are shooting is going to be in Italian because the story is in Italy. So it's like, I mean, there is no sense of shooting like a like a film in English language just because it's genre. It's like it's an Italian story. That the story tells it. The sci-fi we are developing is going to be shot in English because the story allows it. It's not like that we go for language as a criteria to make genre. It's not like that. I mean, you cannot shoot in your language because you shoot genre. And even the platforms are asking for that kind of peculiarity. So like local stories shot in Italian. I mean, very local. I mean, it's just like so far they prefer you to have like less risk, smaller budgets, smaller stories. I mean, I like it up to a point. I mean, I like my film to travel and be seen, and so I understand that if you go below a certain budget, it's very hard for a film to be sold internationally. Nothing that I recommend. I mean, you can we can have exceptions, but usually that's a rule. I mean, if you go like lower than 2.5 to 2.5 million euro in Italy, which it's a lot, you can do a lot on 2.5 in Italy. It's like you can really do a lot. It's very hard because I mean the quality of the feature you see is like it's not going to drive. And now when we speak, Marine and I, our kind of what dream is like we want everybody to see a propaganda film for the very first 10 seconds of the film. We want to see that there is a production value and people can say, oh, look, that's a film for propaganda. Because you can smell it, but you can see it.
Yeah.
I mean, the richness and the texture that you have on the image.
Yeah, you sense that. You sense that from the beginning.
Yeah.
Um, I remember that a couple of years ago we had one of our guests here at the Fantastic Film Forum was Annick Manert. She's a consultant. She knows basically anyone in the
Yeah.
genre sector.
We know it.
And
We work together.
yeah, and I remember that she made this keynote speech where she clearly said that she gave some suggestions to people who wish to start working in this particular film industry, and she said that in a way, of course, it's genre, it's widespread, but in the end, most of the key players are always the same. So, and they know each other, all of them. So, just to be much more concrete, for instance, are there any specific reference for your job? I mean, both in terms of producers as well as in terms of film events. Of course, specific for this one, some events or producers that you would suggest.
Um, yeah, there are events that are specifically tailored for the genre production. I mean, we are these we have we usually we attend Frontiers. Frontiers, I think, is a great chance for genre production. We we have been invited last year with Piover, or thriller horror, and we were here this year with 616, is our sci-fi film. Um, it's very interesting because it gives you an insight of it's a chance for European project to be seen on the US market, because there are several US distributors there, so it's good to be there. The platforms are there, and all the producers who are involved into genre production. So Frontiers is a great chance. Then we attend all the main markets. I mean, like as you know, I could not really. That now we are forced to stay home, but um, I've been traveling so much, I mean, throughout the years for any kind of international market, and so we are attending. We are not. I did not attend all of them, but now. I mean, in the past, I did all. Like, I mean, I was my travel schedule was so full, and now we do like the major ones. Like we do Berlin, we do Cannes, of course. We do Series Mania in March, and then uh, we do Fantasia in July. Then we do Venice, we do Toronto, we do Rome Film Fair, Mia, the Mia market, which is growing, is super good now. And we do AFM every year. We do Ventana Sur. So we do a lot. We travel a lot. We travel kind of, yeah, yeah. We do Sundance sometimes. So it's like, yeah.
And always speaking in terms of, production, what's your, if you have any, what's your relationship with platforms, of course, like Prime Video or Netflix or any other? I mean, do you have any contacts? Do you produce with them, or is it?
Yeah, we do. We do. When I was, I still have, I remember the first deal that we inked with Netflix back in 2014. It's like, was when I was in Turai. We sold content to Netflix, which was opening the Italian market. So yeah, I have connections there. And we speak with them. We speak with them and kind of often, and it's like they are, yeah, you cannot skip the platform. Yeah, it's like it's part of, it's like part of the game now, especially the situation where the distributors and the exhibitors are at the moment. I mean, the platforms are, yeah, kind of stop to go, so you cannot skip them. Yeah, we do. We work. We know them. I mean, it's like, yeah.
No, I mean, for instance, I know that like during the last one or couple of years, let's say, there is this idea, this net, the sort of chimera, the idea that Netflix may come down and give you the money and solve all of your problem with the production, produce you directly. It's sort of, but I mean, from the I was meaning from the point of view of a producer who's already at higher level than that, like you. I mean, is
Thank
net?
you, but we are still a small company. There are companies which are way
No,
bigger than ours.
no,
Yeah. Thank
I
you for
know.
the comment.
No, I know, but I mean, you already have many more reference, Nick, like some producers in Belgium, in Ireland. So you've got many more reference than just Netflix. So in that regard, is Netflix for you just one of the possible partners, or is it something you, let us say, priority?
It does change in if you are. talking with the platforms and you're proposing like an original content for the platforms. In that case, I mean, it's like it's a one-stop shop. It's you and the platform. So platform is green light the project and then you say, okay, I want to finance, they finance, they cover every, I mean, the producer here is just like, it's a creative producer, it takes care of the production, executive production, but it's not like that. If you talk with a platform and you have another scenario in which you might want to close like a pre-sale deal, then you have like you finance your film like in a classic way. So it means public funding, and we do a lot. On 5 is the perfect number. We had 14 public funds, 14 regional, national, international. It's like a lot. And then you finance, and then you at the end when you're almost there. I mean, you want to sign like a pre-sale deal with the platform, but that's not going to be like an original for the platform. It's going to be like a pre-buy. So it's you have two scenarios usually. It's like when it comes with the platform. So yeah.
So, well, I'll just stop talking about production. Of course, I'm coming to a question which has already been made by one of our audience, which I know it's the first question which usually comes to the mind of an independent or young producer or filmmaker. Um, how should they do? I mean, for instance, of course, your perspective is totally different from some independent, from someone who starts making films for the first time, who's making a homemade films with his friends or just with very limited budget. Of course, you work internationally with a different perspective. So, just to make it very concrete, how could one of these young authors or filmmakers get in touch with you, or most of all, get you to be interested in his project? Of course, I'm sure that you will receive plenty of these proposal projects, but what could make the difference?
Yeah, as said before, it's like we usually what we do is like we tend to focus on the script at an earlier stage. So the script comes first. And then after we've been working on the script and we go through several, edits of the script, we start looking for a director. But what is really driving any sales potential is the story. I mean, there is no cast, there is nothing better than the story. And this is a lesson I learned the hard way when I was into sales, which there are very few authors, very few names, I mean, that can sell. So everybody's on the pretty much the same page as when it comes to commerciality and profitability of a project. So my suggestion is like, I mean, work on the script a lot, because the script is the way, I mean, your story can be told and sold throughout the world. And then, at the second stage, we start considering, directors for that. I mean, usually we don't, there is a wide, there's a wide picture when it comes to select the director. There are so many names that we take into account. It's like a big puzzle, and I mean, everything goes together. And usually we apply like criteria which belongs more to organizational management than we never say for that film is Mr. John or Mr. Bill. It's like it's the perfect name for that. We don't do that. We usually what we apply. Let me tell you a story which can be kind of creepy, and we shared with Nick. There was a time in which we had a project in which we really wanted. It was a pure horror story. It was not a thriller. It was a pure horror we were developing at the time, and we had this like super script, and we wanted like to pinpoint the director for that. And then what we did is like we we went talking with the biggest sales company in the market that do genre production. Said, look, who are the hottest directors on the market? And then these guys, they came with like list of 10 names. Then we went to the major film festivals. I said, like, look, we went to Fantasia, we went to CGS, we said, look, who are the directors you want to invite the most? And then they give us list of names. And then we cross them, and then we are like the list, and we start to say, okay, these are the names we are working on. I understand it can be kind of discouraging for you if you say like a young filmmaker, but it's not, because we do first time directors as well. But sometimes when it comes to very commercial project like an horror, I mean, has to be like that. But we work, and we have a thriller horror. We're working with a young kid. He's just co-signed like a Netflix feature. His name is Paolo Stripoli, and very talented, super talented kid. The guy went to the school. He did the shorts. He did all that, because the time that the filmmakers spend in preparing the shorts and is super important, because those are the materials under which they will be evaluated in the future. So when it comes to select like a first-time director, like a short film is super important. If you don't have the resources to go with a full-length feature film, it's good. It's like a super good training. We encourage filmmakers to start shooting and find new ideas. So we see a lot of them.
So I think that it's the same thing also with one of your project in development, 616, which is by Linda Patitucci.
Yeah, Lida was, we know Lida from a very long time. When she started, doing like second unit director from Matteo Rovere. She's been shooting all the action scenes of Matteo's film. We think she's super talented. We like the idea that the way she approached genre. She's an avid genre fan, but she's technically super competitive. She went through a very extensive training. She comes from editing, and then she went to do second unit director for. So she has like a wide idea of the whole process of working on. So she did several experience before, we picked her up for 616, and then later she directed, the Kuron series for Netflix. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, I would like to really to go on, because it's very interesting to talk with Mattia, but very close to the next meeting. So are there any more questions? Maybe there's time for one more, but I really need to close this one. So, but anyway, if you're interested, I remember you once again that there are the one-to-one meeting session going on. So if you register to that one, Mattia will also be there. And so if you want to get in touch with him, I think that he will be available for a chat or two. So basically, that's it. Thank you, Mattia. I really wish you all the best for your projects.
Thank you all.
Because it's very interesting, and especially from our point of view as a genre film festival, we need that. We need stuff to show. So
I love genre. It's great. Just like I'm so glad, and thank you for the invitation.
Okay, no, thank you. And I really do hope to have you to see in person during some other festival.
Unless they lock us up, usually we travel very often, so it's easy to see us around in the market.
Okay. So thank you very much, and thank you everybody.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Bye.
Okay. Bye. Bye.
Bye.